Hello and welcome to the P.G.M Show. I'm your host, Peter Gordon McKinnon. Yes, that's my middle name, Gordon, like Gordon Shumway of Alf. But who's 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 splitting hairs? He had hair all over his body, and that's really beside the point. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm babbling like a babbling brook. Oh, it's Monday morning here, so this could be fun. And my special guest is, uh, well, you've seen the promo, and I hope you like that. You know, Scuba beat. He does the retro beat. He goes chicky boom, chicky boom, chicky wow. That's the abridged version. So so excited. Anyway. So many anyways. Hello, everybody in the chat. I mean, that means you, Matt. Keep on collecting. Yes, I got here. And Rolando, how are you? It's too many. How are you? So anyway, I am so pumped and so excited for this. But let's get into this at the moment. I'll be right back. Let's welcome everybody to the P.G.M Show and welcome my very special guest, Mr. Scuba Pete.
Hey, what's going on? We're doing this in front of a live studio audience.
It's like a daytime show.
Right?
It's a laugh track.
Laugh track. Where's the cue cards?
Don't get me started. I'll get some. Thanks
for having me on, man.
It's a real big pleasure to have you on the P.G.M Show, Scuba Pete, to talk about anything and everything.
Yep.
And I know you were a little bit busy this week and this month to get you on, because I did ask.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Crazy month, isn't it?
The fish have been revolting.
To say the least. Sorry,
Oh.
it's a bad pun on your joke. But anyway, it's lovely to have you on. Everybody, of course, knows who you are. And the question I want to ask is really, I ask of everybody to start off with that. What was your childhood like? Let's go right into it. What was your childhood like?
Ooh, I like this.
So
I think like most folks that I know in the community, you know, we didn't grow up very affluent. I mean, we had a nice roof over our heads. We got birthday gifts. We got Christmas gifts. We had a nice sandbox out back, you know, and if we were well behaved on an errand trip, you know, we might at Service Merchandise be allowed to run over to the toy section and pick out that one figure. You know that, you would get the orders, one figure, and you're like, you know, and now you're presented with, you know, the biggest kid dilemma, right? This wall of Star Wars toys, and you're just like, oh, who should I get? But I can only get one. You know, that kind of.
I would probably hit for the slave Leia when I was a kid. So, yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, we got those kind of little treats. We got like I said, the birthday gifts. Christmas was always fun. I remember getting lots of G.I. Joe back in the day for my Christmas. And then we just played with all the neighborhood kids. You know, we had a whole squadron of us. I mean, there was probably 6 or 7 kids that we all ran around together, and we played Star Wars. We transitioned into G.I. Joe. We played War, as we got a little into our preteens, that kind of, get the camouflage on and go run around in the fields. So we grew up in Indiana, and so moderately rural. I mean, it's got lots of open space.
This Indiana? Sorry.
That Indiana. We called the dog Indiana. But yeah, we had nearby fields and forests to go, on our adventures.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it one of those, where you were just gone all day until like, oh, sun's starting to set, time to haul it home for dinner. And
same with us, Pete. Same with me, Pete. I mean, used to be a happy-go-lucky kid, I mean, playing cricket, out in the backyard with your mates and stuff like that, and just being a kid, playing with action figures, I mean, what line were you playing with? Was it 3 3/4 mostly when you were a kid?
Yeah, all 3 3/4. So really, even before I started to play in the neighborhood, that would be when I was really young. It would be Adventure People, and I've gotten back into those quite heavily because they're very economical as far as toy collecting goes to pick up. You can get job lots of those on eBay. You can find them in a lot of the shops. But yeah, Adventure People's where I really remember as a kid, playing with action figures. And then that obviously in 78 just rapidly transitioned to Star Wars, in a very quick way, having
very quick way.
Very fast. Yep. Well, I was born in 72. So 71. There you go. Right in the zone. I mean, having your mind blown, watching Star Wars, and then being able, fairly soon to pick up those figures and the Millennium Falcons and all. I mean, and that's really where all the neighborhood kids, we really started to play together. I mean, that was guaranteed. If we were going to Joey's house, it was, or Terry's written law. Bring your Star Wars because we're gonna play Star Wars. Like we didn't do anything else. We just played Star Wars.
I mean, it's funny because a little bit different for me with the Star Wars. I didn't really. I saw my first Star Wars film in theaters would be The Return of the Jedi with my mum as a kid. I missed out going to Star Wars in the theater, and even Empire Strikes Back. I went to Empire Strikes Back if I can remember, but not Star Wars. I missed that. As a New Zealand kid here, yes, we had the hype, but not as much as the hype that really you had over there, right?
Oh yeah, it was. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. It was in your, McDonald's, or I'm sorry, your Burger King glasses, your, McDonald's giveaway in your Happy Meals. Just Star Wars was flat everywhere. But, not like now where you're like, oh, I own a hard copy. I think I'll watch Star Wars, or maybe I'll stream Star Wars. You were like, oh, you remember that one part? Oh yeah, let's play that out. They were stuck in the because my friend, I have this. I just picked this up the last Thursday. This is a boxed complete Death Star that I got down at the toy mall. So I pulled the trigger. I have one loose, but I did not have one boxed. You don't have to make me big. I see you searching for that key. Okay. Don't worry about it. But my buddy Terry, had this down the block. He had everything Star Wars. So he had the Death Star, and that was often used as a like, why don't we play at my house kind of deal. And we're like, we all of us would, we'd have that quick straw poll, like, yeah, we should go to Terry's because he has everything.
There's always going to be one kid, right? Who's got all the toys.
Terry had all the Star Wars. Joey had every single G.I. Joe thing you could think of. And but yeah, so Terry's, we would go and we would get to play on the Death Star and be like, hey, I brought my farm boy Luke and my my one stormtrooper, because you were lucky enough to have one stormtrooper and you weren't going to waste that pick one
Yeah.
pick on another stormtrooper.
Yeah.
We weren't
Yeah.
in the army building then. You went with a different character, but yeah,
Yeah, 'cause it was a time of playing. Really, it was a time of playing.
Yeah.
And physically with your toys, right? It's it was a great time to be a kid back then. I mean,
phenomenal. As long as you were home you didn't want your mom to do the second call out in the neighborhood, or have to call other moms looking for you, because that would not end well later. But if you heard that first call, for supper and get home, okay, got to clean up, got to go.
Did it change when you were growing up? Did anything change the dynamic of a kid collecting? Did it,
I think as G.I. Joe was introduced in '82, and we had that down period between Empire and Jedi, G.I. Joe just came in, like a thief in the night with its greater articulation. And of course, I'm talking old school, the olive drab crew, in the first releases, and all the little vehicles and stuff. So, I mean, the world building, not that Star Wars doesn't have that or didn't have that, but Joe and being military just, sucked me in. And I think that's like, I would cut the grass, for a couple bucks. I would stain the giant deck out back at my parents' house for like $5, just so I could go buy an action figure, right? Be like, what else can I do? What else can I, that's really what changed. Like I learned the value of money from doing a little bit of work and being able to go have that pocket money.
Did you let go of collecting when you got in your 20s to 30s?
When when I got into, I would say into middle school, so I'm like 12. Definitely, it's going by the wayside. Like my parents, they kept, thank God, all of our toys. My brother and I, like they boxed everything up, so it was not the usual horror story of, I went away to university and came home to, oh yeah, we gave that to your cousin Philip, and I think he burned it all. That kind of, he gave it away at church. And you're like, what? But
oh no!
No. But middle school is where I got into sports and of course, girls.
Yeah.
But I threw discus. I started throwing discus in middle school and all the way through high school, and so that
I did athletics too, Pete. Right?
Yeah, nice.
I was a sprinter.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I used to try to hit the sprinters with my discus, because they were obviously friends of mine on the track team, but they would go to the far side of the area where we were throwing, and they would stop in the middle of their workout and go, and be like, stay right there, and then we try to throw at them. Yeah.
Should have been a javelin. I actually threw javelin. It's really cool.
Yeah, I've done it a little bit. My brother was much better at javelin than I was. I could never quite get the grip right on that. Plus, Indiana, it wasn't allowed.
Not this Indiana.
Not this Indiana. It's not. Indiana's not a javelin state. Little known fact.
Hopefully, it doesn't become a running joke in this interview. I actually, one of my intermediate teachers taught these students how to pole vault, right?
Nice.
And I thought this was really weird, getting all these young guys to break their bones because he didn't really have a net.
What?
On the other side, or a pad on the other side. It was just
you're supposed to have that porta pit that cushy landing, not some grass.
He didn't have one. So a bunch of us just went, whoop, oh!
I remember the track coach saying, because the pole vault guys were just down from shot put and discus, and they had their runway approaches there, and I was like, "Hey, let me have that pole. I want to." And they were like, "Oh, you want to try it, do you?" And they were guys, 2/3 smaller than me, and I remember my coach, like mid run, he's like, "Stop!" He's like, "That pole is not made for you." Put it down. And we're like,
Yeah,
hey.
I was
like,
short.
that will snap.
Yeah, I was short. I was a short ass, to be quite honest with you. I mean, the pole was bigger than me,
No, just
that's not a euphemism.
Watching those guys, that always blew me away. Like, is it gonna break? And I mean, I know they're rated to certain weights, and I'm like,
break.
That's just crazy.
But it's what got you into retro collecting, Peter? Pete,
I would say it was, I've thought more and more about that. I think it was more like 2017 going into 2018.
Right.
Is when my folks said, "Hey, why don't you come get all these boxes? We're tired of having them in our attic, in the garage." And I'm like, "Okay." And my brother was down, and I remember he's like, "Oh, that's the Transformers box." And I'm like, "Well, that's yours, because I didn't have any Transformers." And he's like, "Here, you can take all the G.I. Joe except for the Mauler," because the Mauler he got as like a birthday gift one year,
right.
the big tan tank. And I'm like, "Really? I can take all the G.I. Joe, including what's over here, the Terradrome, which was his. He got as a Christmas present." And he goes,
Wow.
"Yeah, he goes, I just want the Mauler. I don't have anywhere to really, display it and appreciate it. So you take it." And I was like, "Okay."
Do you also think it was the sorry to cut you off?
No, you're fine.
Do you also think it was the cartoons of that era as well, of growing up as well?
Oh, you know what? That definitely, for G.I. Joe, reinforced that brand, seared it into our brains. I mean, both my brother and I, because we could not get off the school bus fast enough to catch G.I. Joe at 3:30 and like literally run in the door, throw your books down, and wait for the first 5 minutes before the commercial break. G.I. Joe will be right back. And we were like, "Run!" And so we'd run upstairs and grab snacks. And then, I mean, I firmly remember, because we lived in a 2-level house, vaulting like down the steps because you heard the return music. So Joe was coming back on, and you had that like 10 seconds to get your butt back in the seat. And so you'd have your cookies and milk, or your a sandwich and a Coke, or whatever it was, as fast as you could back downstairs, and like literally landing back in the seat, and you're like, "And now back with G.I. Joe," and you're like, "Whoo, made it."
Yeah, I never really got into the G.I. Joe cartoons, mainly Scooby Doo.
Love Scooby. Yeah, still do.
I still do too, because it was funny.
Yep.
I was just kind of I used to crack wisecracks at school when I was younger, and I used to be the class clown, Pete. So all the cartoons I was watching was like Scooby Doo and Shaggy,
like
and stuff.
Wow, Scoob.
Yeah, but they never did any figures, really, or did they do?
No, that was I mean, only now I know of like the great Playmobil sets that they've been doing. But yeah, at the time it was just the cartoons. That was, I mean, the old school Scooby Doo. And our kiddo, our daughter, she grew up both appreciating the vintage Scooby Doo and the new Scooby Doo mysteries, in movies and all that. So that's still something she and I can watch. We're like, "You want to watch some Scooby?" And she's like, "Can we watch the one with the aliens?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're going new. Okay, yeah, let's do it."
I mean, it's really the pop culture for you was okay. Get these toys out of the basement, son. Right? Plus the cartoons was a huge reaction to an action, originally, wasn't it, to actually collect these wonderful toys, because they are nostalgic, aren't they? To be
Sure, very much so. And I think he reached that. I just turned 50 not that long ago, and like all my joints hurt, and when the weather changes and all that
Tell
stuff.
me about it. Tell me about it.
But I think you start getting into your middle 40s, and there's like this nostalgic switch that goes off in your noggin for what you had. Like you start to appreciate it even more than when you necessarily did as a kid. I mean, you loved it as a kid, but now you really get like, oh wow, that was a lot of fun. And it's just as fun to set up a diorama now or hunt for a figure that you always wanted but never had. Because again, I didn't grow up where they were just like, here, have everything, kid. It was doled out appropriately. And so that combination, and for the trifecta, you're your own person. You're making money now, so you can spend some on what you want to spend. Like before toys, I was buying like really nice bourbons and spending equal amount of money because I love bourbon. But the toys took, like, I still like bourbon, and I'll still, but I'm more picky on my bottles. I'm like, I don't know.
Bourbon and toys, get them at your local store.
Yes.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, the mail away offer. Get a free bottle of Blanton's with this Star Wars. You're like,
and it changes people. Bourbon and toys, get them at your local store.
Just to save some tabs and mail them. But having that disposable income to now, I guess I didn't get to experience eBay in its just absolute heyday when prices were really, really good. Late 90s and the early 2000s. But I definitely, like, I started, I love Buck Rogers. I'm a big sci-fi nerd. So I love Buck Rogers.
Gerard. Butler? Not Gerard Butler.
What's his? Yeah, I got stream brain. What his last name is?
Sorry.
I'm just like, and then your mind quickly goes to Wilma Deering, and you're like,
I know. Oh, yeah. I really hate when I do this to actually guests. I'm going, the spinning is like a cricket sounding bleep bleep for a second, bleep bleep. Who is that actor's name?
But I found those figures on eBay for like really inexpensive at the time, and so that began my purchasing of toys that I didn't have, that maybe I didn't even know were out there at the time.
Wow. Okay.
And it's just snowballed from there. I got Castle Grayskull back. That was a big purchase that kind of...
Was that the video that the old Castle Grayskull?
I've got old and... with Eternia, and then I've got an old Castle Grayskull. Yeah, from that video, I did have the snake mount. Those are both vintage.
Where the bridge broke, which...
that was the Eternia set. Yeah, the plastic snap heard around the globe. I didn't want to. You know what? I didn't want to bullshit the edit and be like, everything's fine with this vintage toy set that everybody knows that the rails are like glass. And when that just shattered in my hands, I'm like, at least the camera was rolling. This will make really good footage.
Well, you could actually turn around and says, you didn't see anything.
Well, it broke, and then I went and stopped the camera, and then, the cuss words flying and a couple bourbons, a deep breath, and about an hour later, I'm like, okay, let's start plastic welding the repair back,
I mean, do you find it with the old toys like that you have to tread carefully,
So many of them, I mean, because you're getting to be 40 or 50 years old or more, because again, I love sci-fi. So I've collected a little bit of Matt Mason, which is from the 60s that Mattel did.
I don't know anything about Matt Mason.
Yeah. So he's like I think he's around like a 7-inch figure or so, but it has a little space station, all kinds of vehicles. some really cool stuff, but it was done by Mattel even before,
Right.
you know, Star Wars was a thing. It was more about like, well, we have a great, you know, Apollo space program kind of deal. Like, people are eating up space. They love it. So let's make space toys, right? And that stuff is super, super fragile. So,
I mean, the TV sets around the world had so many sci-fi programs.
yeah.
You know, Buck Rogers. I mean, even Space 1999.
Love Space,
you know,
1999, Blake 7,
Blake
UFO.
Doctor
That's
Who. You know,
yeah. Are you doing that? Like you know, in talking with people, you know, there's always you get around to like, oh, what are you watching? You know, like, hey, did you see the latest on Netflix or Apple TV or whatnot? And I'm like, no, I haven't watched that yet. Like, I'll probably get to it, but I'm like, I'm on season 4 of Blake 7, which I absolutely adore. I'm smack in the middle of UFO. I'm on season 2 of Space 1999. I'm on season 14 of Doctor Who. You know,
see, I grew up watching Black 7 because the dynamic of that team was so inviting to me. You know, even when they changed out the actor who played it first, and I was so engrossed. I don't know what it was. I think it was the team environment and the team dynamic of the show that really struck here with my nostalgic berries. You know, my nostalgic man berries.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't. You like Avon's just absolute, you know, salaciousness. Or not, maybe not salaciousness, but directness. Like, he'll just cut you to the quick. You know, in 5 words, and then you got, you know, Orak, the surly computer, and I mean, it's just, there's a lot of good stuff going on.
His bluntness, the actor's bluntness as being the captain, I think was so inviting because he just didn't take any shit.
Never, no. In fact, he was usually dishing it out because, like, you know,
But shows like that, like Doctor Who, was heavily entrenched back then, but mainly Peter Davidson. Mainly, that was my doctor. I like Tom Baker, but Peter Davidson was my doctor because I grew up watching All Creatures Great and Small, you know, when he was on it. You know, an old program, a UK program called Sink or Swim. He was on it. It was really funny.
Swim. Oh, yeah. What was that about? Sink or Swim.
It was a comedy. It was 2 brothers. One was a little bit more stupider than the other one, right? And I think they were construction workers or window washers. It was really a really funny comedy because it was like the day life of their job or their situations, and I loved it because it was just like so dry.
Yeah,
something sarcastic but so dry. It was so funny. And we never get those comedies anymore, right?
No,
so,
I'm telling you, British TV. God, I'm in love with it. I can't say enough. You know, I got plenty of British friends, but I'm like to back it up with the television program, and I know I've just started to scratch the surface as far as TV programs, but they made awesome stuff. I just found, what was it, 2 weeks ago, the Colditz TV series.
Right. Yeah.
It's freaking awesome. I love it. I was talking to Michael French about it, and he's like, I revisit it every year, you know, and rewatch it. And I'm like, this kicks ass. I'm like, I love this show. It's now my, you know, when I head to bed and Leslie's, you know, tanked out, I'm like, ooh, Colditz.
You know, I mean, it does that for programs also in America for me as well. Right, even that nostalgic man berries, like Perfect Strangers was one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, the 80s TV. Yep.
80s TV. Like, I mean, we again getting back into it. Like the retro toys is like the 18 toys. That's awesome, right? Because it had a show to actually back them up. Right, Knight Rider, right? Had this, you know, and they're all coming back. Do you reckon they're all coming back into our toy collecting sphere?
I think so, because there is that nostalgic, that zeitgeist to revisit those properties. Not necessarily, hey, maybe not wishing for a redo. That's not what I'm saying. No.
Right.
But wanting to go back and be like, you know what? I'm going to start with Knight Rider season 1, episode 1, and go. That kind of, MacGyver, right after the Golden Girls.
Do you think the toys are seeing a resurgence as well?
I think we're currently in that, fevered pitch of, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm getting that Kenner talking kit. I'm totally buying that, that kind of era. But then you certainly got toy brands and makers, making new stuff, good stuff, maybe things that we didn't have. I'm looking at you, Lee, from Pally Toys, because I just got this in the mail. And yes, this is a shameless plug for his cardboard playset.
Way. I like Pally Toys.
Yeah, he's on Facebook, so Pally Toys. Yeah. And he's getting ready to do another run of these, and he's got a lot of other sets that he's been monkeying with. And I love that it's in that Kenner-esque style, but it's something new. So this is the detention block escape, and he's, working on like a Hoth Echo base, and you name it.
Its attention to detail with Lee, isn't it? I mean, because it's like the old-fashioned kind of card on plastic.
Yep.
That it was.
Yeah, that you got. Yeah, with like a Cantina playset or Land of the Jawas or the Hoth. Yep. So good.
And the contrast, just to say, the contrast of what these guys are making, Stan Solo, in fact, as well, with Pally Toys, right? Mm-hmm. The stark contrast of where Hasbro is at the moment.
Right.
Yes, they make good stuff, but they don't make the things that they don't make. So we're relying on Pally or Lee or even Stan Solo to make.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up Stan Solo, the new Greedo that's screen accurate and up for pre-order. I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Or the Vader from Return of the Jedi with help me take this mask off. See you with my own eyes.
No,
I mean,
Sorry,
but great Kenner-esque stuff to like you said, really hit you in the feels of, well, that wasn't made back in the day, but man, it looks fantastic with that original stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael French and everybody is right that the customizers are doing the best work. Right?
Yeah, they're just knocking it out of the park, and I'll give credit, like Playmobil. Shabby gets a ton of that Playmobil. Cy, that just you popped up his comment. Cy gifted me when we were over in England the James Bond DB car.
I want that.
It's flipping awesome from Goldfinger. I'm like, come on! I sat on the floor and put that together like I was 10 years old again, and I mean, it's got the ejection seat and the flunky that goes flying out and the rotating plates and machine guns. I mean, Playmobil is killing it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Magnum PI.
Playmobil. It. Oh, dude, there's another great 80s show that was something like my dad, my brother, and I like. Actually, no, it was more of a family affair. Magnum PI is on. It was one of those shows where we all butts in the seat.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we got in common. That was my favorite show. Still is the original.
So good. I need to get his Hawaiian shirt. The real, the nice one. Yeah, I need
to steal it off Josh.
Yeah, Josh. He wears it well.
He's got the mustache to it.
He does. Yeah.
So, let's get a little bit backtrack. We were talking in the green room about what you do for a job, and it fascinated me. I mean, so actually, you've got Scuba in your name, right?
Yep.
Tell the New Zealand audience, an audience of one, what's your job? What do you do? I mean,
So I am a certified scuba diver. It wasn't just some name I picked out of the blue. And actually, I was given that as a nickname uh, at work because what I do is take care of very large aquariums. I dive them to scrub. I do the water chemistry, the feeding, on-site vet service, like everything to do with these large aquariums. Um, and so they started, instead of Scuba Steve, that everybody knows from the Adam Sandler Big Daddy movie, they quickly adapted to Scuba Pete, and it's stuck ever since. I mean, we're going on 20 plus years of that nickname. So, yeah, I was like, you know what? When I was picking out my YouTube handle, I'm because I had lurked on retro blasting and analog toys
right.
and
Right.
so many other channels and never made a comment, wasn't
Right.
present. Even if they had a live chat, that wasn't even on my thing. I was just watching the stream. And so, yeah, when I was picking out a handle, I'm like, well, might as well just go with Scuba Pete because I can fly through the Atlanta airport and somebody typically will shout my name, down the concourse, which Leslie's like, oh, for real? And I'm like, what?
I mean, you told me in the green room that you've actually dived with sharks.
Yes. So way back in the day, our neighbors are who got us both into scuba diving because they were like, hey, we go on these great trips. You guys should get your cert and then you can come. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. And so we both got certified and thus the passion began, more so for me than Leslie. Leslie's like, you know what? I could do it, but I really enjoy a nice margarita and a book by the pool. You can go sit on the rocking boat, and go jump into 70, 100 foot of water and just have fun. I will be right here when you get back. But yeah, so my first open water dive. So I'm a newly minted, I've got my C card and I'm like, yes, I'm actually a diver. I'm qualified. And so we go to the Bahamas on a trip. And the very, very first dive, I burnt up all my air in like 20 minutes because I was so excited. I got down to the reef and I wasn't panicked. I was just excited because I was seeing all these fish and coral that I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, that angel's like a $200 angel at the pet store. Oh, look at that. Just not really being conscious of my air consumption. And pretty soon I'm looking at my gauge and I'm like, because I was diving as a trio with my neighbors. So I showed them my gauge and they were like, bye. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, we're dive partners. Where we go together. And they were like, the boat is right there. Bye. And I look up and I'm like, yep, about 50 feet up. There's the hull of the boat. And I'm like, okay. And so they stayed down because they had another, 40 minutes of air.
Right.
But so that whole week we did like kind of 2 tank dives. So you'd have a morning dive, have a snack, and then you'd have an afternoon dive. But one of the afternoon dives was a shark dive. So yeah, you load up on the boat and you go out to about 30 foot of water and they overweight you just a little bit. So you're not, fighting any kind of buoyancy that you'll actually, because what they want you to do is get down to the sand bottom and then just sit on your knees. Bring your bring your put your pressure gauge up here and then just fold your hands like this into your BC and sit in a semicircle. And we're like, okay. And as soon as you jump off the boat, you look around and 20, 30 foot out, you see the sharks just circling because they know every day that this is going to happen. So they're like, cool, snack time. Not with the divers. They're not like trying to get you, right? They want what?
Come on, sharks.
But it is a little unnerving. You jump in and this is like, my 3rd or 4th dive of the entire, trip. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of sharks. And so you get down and it's nurse sharks, black tip reef sharks, Typically that's what was circling around. So nothing just absolutely ginormous, but some 6-7 footers. And then the guy in the chainmail suit with like the bait container, he starts to approach because he gets in way far away and then kind of walks over on the bottom where we are. And then the sharks know, it's ding ding, it's dinner time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool. And I did have a black tip bait, almost knocked my mask off. It came by, and a pectoral fin rather hit me right on the mast strap, like as he was coming in to go to the bait bucket, and I was like, cool, like that was really neat.
You would have lived up to your name, Scuba Pete.
Right? That dive was also very memorable because we got back up on the boat and there was this French gal that was part of the dive boat. She was also enamored with the shark dive. Well, as we were going back into the harbor, she decided to change clothes on the bow of the boat in full view of everyone.
Okay, French.
Yeah. And she was French. She was very nice, flirty-gurdy. And, and we're all, all the guys are back there like, salute. But dangerously, even the captain of the boat, he was like, what? And the first mate like slapped him upside the head because he was, headed into another boat. That made that shark dive even more memorable. Good stuff.
Sir, Captain, the reef.
Yeah.
You're not French, Captain.
Vive la France. Good times.
They didn't take any pictures. Anyways. I had to get that in there. Shabby's actually in the chat, so
nice.
I'm not ignoring anybody, but just to say, anybody turns up, everybody knows Scuba Pete. I'm talking to Scuba Pete on the P.G.M Show. So, yes, it's fascinating because that we're also talking about you, cleaning the tanks, and you were entertaining some little kids, So that's your job, right? It's just to clean the aquarium and stuff like that.
Yeah, last week I think I was underwater for 8 hours total the whole week, which is a lot. I've been getting my butt kicked,
right?
With algae growth. So yeah, I mean the tanks have to look good. Can't have them looking dumpy. So
it's just fascinating to me, really. I mean, I wouldn't get caught dead.
Most of these that I'm doing are freshwater, so there's nothing that's going to get you aside of a 40-50 pound catfish, which we're into spring, and they get a little frisky. And I have gotten bit several times by some big catfish who were like territorial. Yes, because they were frisky. And how do I know they were frisky? That's right. Here we go, everybody. A little fish fact for you. These big blue catfish, they basically break out in pimples along their dorsal line when they're horny. There you go. That's how you know. They get like a little bit of acne.
Yeah.
Yep, they get little bumps.
Horny fish. So beware of catfish or horny.
Okay. And so at any point I could get thumped just because they see you're as big as they are, and they're like, get out of here. I'm looking for love in all the wrong places.
His mate's probably going, mate, he's human, right?
Right, yeah. I'm like, do you mind? I'm scrubbing.
Yes. It's just, watching your channel, you're so free in what you do because you know what you're talking about, right? I mean,
most of the time, I try.
That's what's I think so inviting. Your show.
Thanks.
And chasing out toys. It's just not you, is it? It's others as well.
Right. Yeah, that's what's great. We kind of have the triad of Chris Miwa, Jeff Barker, and myself that make up Chasing 80s, and so we've all got different ideas that we want to do and that we bounce off each other. Like, hey, let's do this. What about that? I know, like, I keep telling Jeff, I'm like, dude, everybody's missing you, because he's like, I know I haven't made a video in a while. And that's part of our kind of channel mantra is do it if it's fun. Don't do it because you feel this like you have to, because then that's not fun, and that's going to come across as
it's going to be an chore.
Yeah, be like, yeah, here's this G.I. Joe figure. Everybody, like, do it if you want to do it. But, real life comes first, Yeah,
true.
And he's been working a ton. So I get to see him at Joe Fest in a couple weeks with Shabby and G-Force and Zazel and
it's
Analog Toys is going to be there. Ken Poe, Hans Chow.
Is Tony going over?
Tony's going over. Zazel's coming over. Michael French coming
I don't
over.
Know Tony, but it sounded like that I do know Tony. Well, I don't know Tony at all.
Well, he's just next door in Australia,
Is Tony going over? Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Bobby Valla, Laser Pants, Sal. It's going to be a articulated Chad. I mean, this year is going to feel much like how Star Wars Celebration felt for me, with all the cool Brits and getting to meet up everybody. It's going to be like that every day at Joe Fest. And I'm so jazzed to be able to hang out, shoot the shit, have some beers, some bourbon, hunt some toys.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good
Scuba
time.
diving on toys.
Right. Yeah. So, diving in on toys. It. Because as much as it's, Joe Fest, or as we say, tongue-in-cheek, Valicon, there's every toy line you can think of there. It's not just like, oh, every vendor's just selling G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe. I bought more of other brands in toy lines than I did G.I. Joe last year, which was, when you got home and laid it out, you were like, look at that.
What's the fascination with the G.I. Joe? That's the question I want to. What is the fascination with G.I. Joe?
For me, or I should say, as a kid, it was the fact that it was so highly articulated. You had all the arm joints, the elbow joints, and then quickly they even went into the swivels of the arms. The fact that they could hold their gun, but unlike Star Wars, where they were just like freeze, they could you could put it different ways, and that was very appealing. But I like all boys with their toys. That military pull, man, I never served. I'm thankful to all those who have and are, but there's just something in, when you're a little dude that you're like, okay, that is seriously cool. Like Flint is my favorite G.I. Joe character.
Right.
And that was Super Awesome Geek Show had a quiz earlier today. And one of the questions was, he's a warrant officer. And I was like, Flint, without even, I wasn't on it. I was just watching it. But
wait, is it because they've got the massive vehicles like the flag?
Right. I never had the flag. I didn't know anybody who did. Even Joey down the street, I don't think had the flag. If I've tried to rack my brain, I don't recall seeing it. But yeah, the world building was exponentially larger than even Star Wars, and that was awesome. So you had bases and motorized tanks and dune buggies with actual suspension, the Allstriker. It was just, that was mind-blowing in itself. You had, I never had a Sky Striker as a kid. I've made up for it now. But Top Gun, so F-14 Tomcat, and you're like, everybody wanted to be a fighter pilot, back then. And the fact they came out with those, it was like, oh, wow. If only, and now I got one parked on the flag.
What do you think of the new G.I. Joe now? The classified.
The classifieds, I can appreciate them to a point. Now I've said it on some other streams. That whole wave one where they were playing up to the video game characters and that's why they were very sci-fi-ish. And then those did not sell very well. Imagine that. Even I took my Duke, and I'm like, I've never customized a figure before, but I am now. After watching Sal, 2 Cents Toys do it, I'm like, I'm gonna get some acrylic paint. And I'm gonna make the Duke how I would want to make the Duke. But I've been very picky with those. I don't think they hold, at least for me, the same magnetic pull as 3 3/4 does. But I like it. Like I picked up the Dr. Mindbender figure because I think he's just evilly ridiculous with his purple pants and his cod piece, and bear chest. I think that's just hilarious. So yeah, there's certain figures. No, you're all right. There's certain figures that are great, and then there's others that you just go, oh God, like Falcon, that face sculpt on Falcon.
When I saw that, I go,
that's a face only a mother could love. I've seen one where somebody did I think they may have taken Beachhead's head off and painted the head sculpt, because all you see on Beachhead's just his eyes, and it's like, oh, that's much better. It's not as shocking as the face of Falcon, where you're just like, oh, that's gonna haunt me in my dreams.
God, yeah. What was his mother thinking? All right. One figure I do like, it's a new figure, is the Scuba Man, Pete.
Oh, Torpedo. Yeah, Connor Fuller just did a video on him, and I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, Connor, you've sold me. Yeah, and I know even
I thought of you. I think I said something in one of your comments.
Yeah. I'm like, I will be getting Torpedo. I didn't do any pre-order or anything like that, because I do fewer and fewer pre-orders. That was probably one of the things coming out of lockdown, was like, I'm not pre-ordering anymore. This is just, I feel like I'm beating my head against a wall. Uh-oh, the missus.
And this is
gotta behave. Better watch that cussing, boy.
I don't cuss that much.
But yeah, that Torpedo figure, oh, it's so good. And I know Bobby Valla with Valaverse has talked, in the future, hinting at a scuba figure. Not me scuba, but a scuba diving figure. And I'm like, yes, because I love Valaverse too. I'm taking my Sergeant Slammer, which is Sergeant Slaughter. He was called Sergeant Slammer in the UK because he's less violent. I'm taking that boxed figure, and I'm gonna get Sarge to sign that at Joe Fest.
Oh, that's right. He's gonna be there, isn't he? I think.
I want to be put in the Cobra Clutch. I want to join that club. Are you kidding?
He's prominent, really, isn't he? In the G.I. Joe and it's and wrestling.
Both. And wrestling. He's just an awesome dude. And
he's done a lot for toys, though, really, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Without maybe him knowing it, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. It's a question for Sergeant Slaughter's answer.
I think watching enough of his life, he definitely knew that Hasbro G.I. Joe brand, was a cool thing. His daughter Kelly, Slaughter's daughter, is her channel, but on Kelly's channel, check it out, sub to her, because she does some great talks with my dad, as she calls it. And it's flipping awesome to hear all these tales from back in the day, and so they will talk about, and I dabbled with watching wrestling, and I got lucky enough to go to a SummerSlam up in Chicago back in the day. So my wrestling knowledge is very limited.
Indiana, I take it.
Not in Indiana. It was in Chicago.
Okay. I don't have any Chicago toys to actually tell.
But to hear the stories of some of these very pinnacle events on what was the backstory with the wrestlers, and him talking about being friends with Iron Sheik, because as kids you were just like, Iron Sheik, boo, and it's like, behind the scenes, like they're going out for meals. They see each other, all the time, and as a kid, that's just over your head, oblivious. Or my aunt at the time, because to her, everything about wrestling was 100% real. She said that one Thanksgiving. I remember that. It's real. And we're like, okay, all right.
it's. I mean, I grew up with the fascination of wrestling being real, right? But once you step behind the curtain, it's a different kind of real. It's the
Right.
reality is broken, right? It's
Yeah, the
uh,
storylines, the business,
mm,
the backstabbing,
yeah,
the anointed ones that you're going to be our top man. All those stories are really cool to hear now, and I think that goes hand in hand with the nostalgia that we were talking about.
mm,
Is that
mm,
I'm a lover of history. I always did well in history class, but to do the history of toys or to hear about the history of these wrestling events and contests, that's just cool stuff. I kind of soak it up like a
yeah,
sponge.
yeah. I mean, the history behind even their dark stories
Yeah.
is now more prominent with
Right.
the
Yeah.
dark.
We're farther out from that event. So now you can
Yeah,
kind of like, here's what
totally.
actually happened.
Yeah, that's history. Probably one history that needs to be told,
Mm-hmm.
but they, are they always ask the question. Yeah, the stories are good, but really want to distance ourselves from it because
Mm-hmm.
wrestling is got to be fun, right? So
Right.
we're entertaining. Um, uh,
Yeah. That's
but
what's
it's
so tantalizing is to hear the backroom deals and
mm,
you know, what went on right before we went on stage or after,
yeah,
what went down in the locker room, not the stage stuff in the locker room, like
yeah,
the actual
yes.
stuff, that's really interesting to hear. So check out Kelly's channel,
Mm.
Slaughter's Daughter.
It's I do actually want to. There is one. Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan didn't really get on, but I think they probably mostly did get on. Um, behind that's what I heard, that they just didn't really get along. But I mean, Andre the Giant was probably I think this big sweet man who had an
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm sure
Um,
behind the scenes it was, he's just a dude that puts his pants on like the rest of us
yeah,
and, let's get a steak. Even though I just tore you a new one in the ring. Like, let's go
yeah,
get a steak. We just can't be seen out,
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, I love history as well of different things as well. So I'm with you there, Pete. I mean, I studied Vietnam
mhm.
and New Zealand history of Vietnam mainly, and then I studied a wee bit of Gallipoli of World
Uh-huh.
War One. So
Yep.
um, American history, I love the American history kind of thing. Like the Civil War,
Mhm.
fascinates me. But yeah, I'm going to say this if there's a right word. I'm a strong proponent of history as well. So I love talking about that
Yep.
stuff. And
Oh
it
yeah.
really it revolves around revolves around nostalgic and toy history, isn't it? Really, to be quite honest with you, there's a lot of
That's
history
that's what
there.
really, yeah, it gets, I will watch that documentary on He-Man or Sectars. Shabby turned me on to an awesome Sectars. Hey, G-Force, an awesome Sectars documentary. I think it was like an hour long on YouTube, and it's really cool to hear. Like, why didn't as a kid you were like, I really don't. Okay, I remember the Sectars commercial, but I don't really remember any kids having it. But then you learn like the price points were kind of being a
Right.
7-inch figure was a lot higher than like a He-Man figure. So parents were like, okay, we're not buying that. But you can have a He-Man figure, that kind of those toy aisle decisions that literally affected the line's bottom line is why Sectars wasn't a big thing and it didn't continue. It's a very small
Niche.
slice, yeah, niche slice of the pie. So I like that stuff. I love that stuff. That's what keeps me up till 2 a.m. or later. Like, oh, I didn't know there was that. Okay, I'm gonna watch that too.
With all this, with all the history, it's been good, right? Do you think the history of toy making and toy evolving is miraculously changed?
Has it miraculously changed?
Yeah, like it hasn't been stemmed into the nostalgic history of the olden days, right? Of the olden days.
I mean,
Sorry.
clearly these big corporations, you don't have to look very far to see that they're playing to that nostalgia.
Right.
That equals dollars in the bank, to bring back, Motu Origins, or bring back Motu as Origins, which I love. Shabby
Right.
loves.
Yeah.
Lucy, toy expert Lucy loves.
Yeah.
Like, that's good stuff. But you can totally see, like, at the end of the day, they're a giant corporation and it's all about making the bucks.
Yeah.
And so to play that nostalgic harp is very alluring to all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Hasbro's got their Black Series, their TVC. So TVC, if you're a 3 3/4 inch figure fan from back in the day, now we've got that highly articulated figure, much like the G.I. Joe, that's very appealing. You like the 6-inch? Yep, we got you covered. I just picked up the 6-inch Biker Scout Return of the Jedi carded. He's all grimy, like he's been in the forest at Endor, and that's really cool. But again, I'm really selective with that. I don't just purchase everything. I'm kind of like, okay, that, and then I'm like quickly back to my vintage land.
Yes, it's really detrimental to someone's health, like me, that I used to do when I had money in a job, is to actually buy shit and just constantly, do you ever, it's good to pick and choose, but did you have that kind of that inspirational thing to actually just buy everything on the freaking shelf? So
there is that. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there is that inner child that you always wanted everything on the Star Wars aisle and the G.I. Joe aisle, right? If what was it? Nickelodeon that had the where the kid got to go shopping for 3 minutes at the toy store or whatever, and they had it like, let's put 3 minutes on the clock, Johnny, and little Billy's got that time to take a cart and just, everything he can fit in it, and get across the, like, supermarket sweeps. I think it was Nickelodeon that did a show like that. That's still in there. That kid that's like, I wouldn't do it per se for like, oh, this is the entire aisle is TVC and Black Series. All right, you got 3 minutes. But if you could recreate the we've all seen the pictures of the Kenner aisles that Children's Palace or Toys R Us, where you're just like, oh my God, it goes from here to the moon. To get that again, oh hell yeah! I mean, just, and I've done that, and buying a lot of what I never had, for sure. So because you got,
I haven't.
You have.
I haven't. No. So
your day will come, my friend.
Yeah,
you'll get back in there.
When I reincarnate as another kid. That would probably won't happen. I'll probably get reincarnated as a snail and get crushed. I hope I actually don't come back as reincarnated as a snail and get crushed. Anyway, I'm babbling.
I hear it'd be a real gastropod. I'm sorry. That's a bad snail joke.
It's gone right over my head, Pete. Is that a snail? It's a technical term for snails, everybody.
Shilling for snail. I mean, shilling for snail. No.
Do you think toy collecting is a little crazy?
Definitely. Oh yeah. I think we all are a little crazy.
Yeah. And I am.
Yeah. I think you have to be to embrace it and really get into it. You got to be a little nutty in a good way to do it. And like Leslie always says, you could be into way worse stuff as like what way worse stuff than you want to get the new Lego Millennium Falcon. Yeah, all right, if that's what you want. Or I'm looking at my Indiana Jones Well of Souls Lego box kit
Right.
times 2, thanks to Michael French, because he's done that one with like 4 plus other bricks, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
And he's really decked it out. Like,
it's nuts, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And like any good friend, I messaged him and said, hey, here's the links for Amazon where you can get the light up Lego brick, third party stuff. Cause I was like, what do friends do when you're on the cliff? Shove you off. Here you go. Here's some more to make it even more tricked out.
I mean, maybe you should talk him into getting a tunnel for the plane and Jeep chase.
Yeah.
When they go to the tunnel. So
yeah, there's so many. Yeah, when you see those little sets, and they're not badly priced for Lego sets. I mean, let's be honest, Lego sets are not cheap, but they're very reasonable.
Not cheap over here, Pete. It's
yeah. Yeah, you guys definitely have the New Zealander Aussie tax. I'm always blown away when like Dan, Retro Ed, or not Retro Ed 5. Sorry, so many Eds. Dan says, hey, this Black Series figure is $56 reduced, and I'm like, what? That just
what's that? What is all good when hang on, I'll read it from here. All good when you said what?
Side that gave it away.
All right. I can't read.
What's up, Matt?
It is crazy though, isn't it? It is crazy.
Do you think, because you get to talk more with like fellow Kiwis and Aussies, do you think that is a limiting factor to, I mean, is it availability, is it price, or is that like not even a thing?
Price and availability is largely due to the distribution. And price is amazingly high, especially we've got a store called Toy World, right? It's mainly a boutique toy store, right? And I was looking at action figures, Black Series, right? And I went up to Saul Guerrera's Black Series when it came out. Looking at the price, and the price tag was $85 for a deluxe.
Wow.
Yeah. And that store, right? That store is expensive. Even with TVC, it's about $35 to $45 for a TVC.
Wow.
Right? Okay. Even if you do Motu, and they've got some Motu stuff there, right? It would be expensive. It would be in the astronomical price range of that. To $45 to $45, $35, $50 range, right?
That's incredible.
Okay? But I was showing this to you, right?
Yes.
We've got stores called the Warehouse, which is a big red shed, okay? And they've got TVC, they've got Black Series, right? And the price tag is a little bit lower. Some of it is, but they still stay the same. That Indiana Jones there, right, cost me $45, okay? Right. So it is a big price hike from what you get in America, which is $25, right?
Yeah, and $40 for a deluxe.
Yeah, deluxe, right? And again, in our country, it would cost more. It would cost about even $75 for a deluxe figure. Okay, so
shocking.
It is shocking. You got to have a good job.
Right. To be able to, you're like groceries or I don't know, $75 reduce.
And I'm going to say
an action figure.
I'll say this, Pete. Right now, I'm unemployed. I get enough to actually rent, right, and food. Okay, I'm not struggling because I can pay rent. I'm not struggling, right? So, I have to buy these and also TVC sparingly. Right?
Sure.
So I quite like that. I quite like that because it's given me a choice to actually not frivolous spend,
Sure.
but pick up use. So
Yeah, you want to make sure that's really, really what I want, rather than I'm going to get them all.
Yeah,
the back of the card back, collect them all. Be like, yeah, no, real life happens.
Yeah,
and
distribution. To actually answer that one is really tricky, really tricky, because some stores, even here in New Zealand, they get what they get, but we get something different down here, up here, right?
Yeah,
Even in
interesting.
Australia, New Zealand, we get something they have, what we don't have. Same with the United States and your targets, right?
Yep.
They get that lot, but they don't get that lot,
Yep.
right? And that lot that you want is over in the other target in the PST side of the world, right? So it's really crazy. It is really crazy. So
that just, we were talking about the other night, and it's like, you guys are closer to mainland China. It's like, why it doesn't just ship down? Like, why does it take forever? Like, it should go to you guys like easily, as easy as it goes to Europe. But alas.
China and New Zealand, I think it's been a bit of a bugbear. I'm not going to talk too much into politics, but we've had this.
Yep.
This trade China difficulties.
Yes. Yeah, we'll just call it difficulties with them.
Yes.
Yep. I know exactly where, again, studying
yes.
the globe. Yeah. Yeah, things as they are.
Things,
we'll
but I do appreciate what we get, and sometimes we have to wait quite a long time to get what you guys can give us in US or China, right? And that's fine. I mean, my collection is changing a wee bit from 6-inch. I'm going fully to world build and 3 3/4. Right? Like Star Wars and like Jurassic Park now have got.
Oh yeah, nice.
The Hammond collection 3 3/4.
That's good stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, so I picked him up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
what's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Samuel.
Yeah. That mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I get a Tyrannosaurus with cheese?
Yeah. I got Grant as well.
Nice. Yeah, see, I've seen them on the pegs, and I'm like, nope, just walk away. No. But I'm glad they're out there, because they're really cool.
Yeah, they're brilliant. You see, what I want to do, right? I keep on. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you're not. You're fine.
What I intend to do is get 3 3/4 like that in Star Wars and make scenes.
Yeah, that's what I love. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's I have like that's the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Treehouse set.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But I like to, I've got a whole vignette set up. There's things happening, but I'm still displaying the figures. But that's fun to do, right?
It is fun to do. I love doing it.
I'm not getting everything out of China, so have to distribute in. Yeah. I wish it was equally distributed at the same time. But there was weird outliers, like I remember the G.I. Joe Classified's Prophet Director Destro, Pimp Daddy Destro. You remember that character, right? Yeah, like just over the top. Well, you couldn't find him for anything. And I think it was Analog Toys. Tony found, like, hey, at the Kmart, they got like 12 of them. And we're like, is that where they all went? Not that I was going to pay scalper price.
Too. We got them here too.
Yeah, just like scads of them. Just that's where they all went.
America doesn't want them. You can have them.
I think there was a guy, he was loading the crate, and he's like, let's just put it over in the. Let's put it in that one.
Let's give it to the Aussies and New Zealanders.
Yeah.
He's too much of a pimp daddy to actually have.
It's such an outrageous figure. But I just found it comical, like here it's the only way you're going to find it is scalped on eBay for, stupid money. And there's Tony like Kmart's got 12. Look, it's like just a sea of them on the pegs,
It's sometimes okay. I mean, I do. I'm probably going to go back on my words here. Sometimes, yes, we do have to wait for it, but sometimes it is a bit of a bugbear because we have to wait for a long time to get these figures that you've got. That what we want to buy, right? So TVC, for example, right? So I see Jason, the middle-aged Kiwi man, buy these TVC, and they're the ones the 40th anniversary TVC skiff guards. Right? I would love to have those in my hand, but every time I go to a store, they're not there.
Yeah,
so
they're like, if you're lucky, there's a UPC code where they should be, but they're not.
Yeah, I mean, you have that same problem, of course.
It's very hit and miss still with the Hasbro stuff in Target. Like we have a Walmart near us or a Big W. I know that is it what's it called in New Zealand? Is it called Big W there?
No, we've got the warehouse. We call it warehouse. The
warehouse. So. But is it Walmart in disguise? Is another name.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's interesting.
We get it. I love Costco.
It. Getting it at Costco.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So I think we've already got one in Auckland. Costco.
Oh, fancy dancy. You'll be buying ketchup in like 10-gallon things just because.
I know. I want some sugar. It's
like 50-pound sack, $14.
Where are you, Pete? I'm here behind the sack.
I just bought 500 pizza rolls. I don't know why, but they were $12.
And I had to have
Costco. I had to have them. But
Big W is in Australia, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I remember. Yeah, as soon as Dan he and I were just video chatting, and he goes, "I'll take you in there," and I was like, "Hey, that's Walmart," and he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, all the signage is that the same, except instead of Walmart, it says Big W. But it's very hit and miss still. I like to think that it's getting better, but every time I go to my Target, I kind of just go, "That's the same stuff that's been here."
Yeah.
There's the few odd classified figures. There's I say hi to the Lando that's been there, for like this Christmas will be like 2 years. Because I don't know about my Target. My Target will not mark down toys. They just don't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ever. And so it just sits there, and I'm like, why? Like red tag it, put it back by the beer, in some weird off aisle at least or something. Nope. He just hangs there, and I'm like, "What's up, Lando? Good to see you. Like, hope somebody adopts you before Christmas, but not at full price. They're not, It
makes no sense, does it? It makes no sense.
No, it's like blow them out and you wonder, at least like my particular store, is that why there's not more? Because they're like, well, we haven't sold those couples, so we're not ordering to fill those pegs. And you're like, oh, for crying out loud.
And then you have to go somewhere else.
So I mean, I'm like G-Force that was on here. He does multi-store Targets and Walmart hunts, which is cool. And he's finding some stuff, and I'm like, I'm excited for my friends to find these figures they're looking for, like Steve-O from collecting Star Wars. He found the TVC nod to the Kenner Boba Fett finally. Multiples of them, and check his channel out because he's going to give away, I think, like 2 of them when he hits 1,000 subs. But I mean, to see your friends succeed in their collecting is awesome because I can enjoy that through you vicariously, right? Like it doesn't always have to be I got the toy, I got my precious. you know.
My precious.
My precious, you know, I'm excited for you that you found that McFarlane figure, you know, if you're Psy, that you were looking for, or you got the Batmobile, or, you know, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I live vicariously through Jason, the middle-aged Kiwi man, you know, and because he's got all this such good stuff.
He's got stuff. I like stuff.
Because he's world building.
It's very appealing, the 3 3/4 scale, to be able to I mean, you can go to the pet store and buy driftwood and the plastic plants and you know, like Connor does on a lot of his stuff, and really make some awesome vignettes. Leslie, I'm sure, is rolling her eyes if she is still listening to this, but you know, I've got projects that are like partially started, or, you know, there's bags of Spanish moss and foam board, you know, back in the workroom, that one day, you know, I want to make that into a Dreadnought base, or I want to make a 3 3/4 inch, you know, Nod to Echo base, you know, crazy stuff like that.
Because it's a little bit more freeing. So actually over here, it's a little bit more less expensive 3 3/4 than we're getting at 6-inch.
Yeah, you can get a little more bang for your buck.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 3/4 Hammond collection, which I've just showed you, only $25 in the warehouse, which is really good.
Nice, that's great.
Even for a Mattel figure, right? So it's pretty damn good, right?
Hell yeah.
Because our TVC is still very,
like you said, $45 is
yeah, it is. But it's more, it's less expensive than buying outwardly 6-inch, because they're getting more and more expensive.
Do you have plans to like go outside and like pillage the landscape for downed limbs and whatnot, to like work in with your Hammond collection stuff, you know, kind of making a Jurassic Park? Because
I'm gonna do that. I've just put to say that not Jurassic Park, but the Star Wars thing. You've got the 6-inch, right, of the Return of the Jedi speeder bike, right?
I don't have the I don't have the 6-inch of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, were you talking about the TVC speeder bike?
Yeah, I've seen the TVC speeder bike with like where somebody took actual, you know, went out their backyard and like cut some limbs, and I'm like, yes.
See, I'm going to do that. But
hell yeah.
I'm not gonna open the card. I'm going to actually buy a scout trooper.
Yep.
Just singularly.
Yeah.
All right. And just put it on the bike. I don't want to open the card. So
yeah, and leave that carded. That's cool.
But what I want to do is to actually do the scene where, because I've got to get a Malcolm, where he holds the flare up and says freeze, right, and have the big 6-inch dinosaur, right? And have that scene. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to have a photo, but have one of the electric fences 3D coming out of the picture.
Yep.
Coming out of the picture. So and then it's like a visual 3D kind of thing. So have the shelf there.
Yeah, the forced. There.
So
forced perspective. Yeah, I like it. I mean, there's something quite satisfying when I do spend the time to make something like that. I mean, Leslie will say it. She's like, the look that you get on your face, it's like you're 10 years old again. Like there's a peacefulness that washes over you, just like building a Lego set. She's like, that is a look that I don't see in our daily life, and only when you're working on something like that, which is cool. And it's you can do it for economical, because
exactly, it's freeing and it's calming. Right? It's an escape as well, which is good.
Totally.
I think all toy collectors and you can actually say that, we can do this because it's an escape. It's fun to do. getting back to your nostalgic kid days. You know?
Yep.
So
I always say I'm growing older, but not up. My metabolic rate is pleasantly stuck.
yes, growing older, probably practically not wiser, but
Not wiser, just more Weisenheimer.
yeah, exactly. But it's. I'm going to open it to the chat if they want to have a question or two. By all means,
Cool.
open it up there. And yeah, having this great conversation with this nostalgic Manberries retro kind of, I mean,
Yep.
and all this cartoons, all these TV series and these movies. I mean, it all connects, right? Doesn't it? For us
Yep.
to collect stuff, right? So
yes, this web, definitely.
It's so enjoyable to actually talk about the stuff,
I never tire of it, and the friend, our friends locally, who are, we call them family because they're friends that are just as important as family. They were like, "Oh, you're going to England. What are you going to do?" And we're like, "Go see friends." And they were like, "Oh, really?" And it's like, yeah, these are all friends, family that we've made because of the lockdown. And this is something really cool that's come out of it, right? Is this deeper sense of community with these toy friends. It's not just, oh, I know Shabby, he knows me, he sent me stuff, I've sent him stuff. It's like, no, I know that his oldest graduated, and we're like, yeah, because we've met him, we know him. So you get to know people on a much deeper level than just, oh, he's a TVC collector. Be like, no, it's Tim from Boss Bounty, and he's got kiddos, and it's just good stuff, and to be able to go visit people in person,
right?
And hopefully one day we come your way, New Zealand, Australia. Hell yeah.
That'll be fantastic if you do come down,
right? Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
Both of you are welcome.
Do a little Great Barrier Reef diving. That's some bucket list diving right there.
I'll get a pool outside my apartment, and you can go dive in that.
I think we need to make a. We need to all work on making a toy friend in like Bali. We need to find somebody in Bali who collects like we collect, and we're like, hey, can we come for a? Well, yeah, just no.
But I've got to ask this question. You've probably been asked this question before by Stu. Sorry, that's really awful. That's really awful. Sorry, Stu. When did you start your channel?
So Chris and I and Jeff, well, I started to do some hunt videos for Chris because we were friends via the Michael Mercy channel back in the day. That's how Chris and I met. And got to give props where props are due. And Chris and I struck up a friendship. And so we started, I was like, hey, I'm going to go toy hunt. And he's like, well, if you want to video it, I'll edit it and put it together. And I'm like, wow, that sounds, hey, what's up? Like, it sounds like I get the easy part. I just got to shoot raw video and then he'll make it all look good, which is still our deal. But, so that was going into, let's see, that would have been tail end of 2020, I think.
Okay, all right.
Is when we were, or in the middle of 2020, I think, because we were, we weren't as locked down as like you guys were. But any rate,
but that
started it, and then Jeff came into the picture when he had the USS Defiant to send me that I bought, and we were like, what if we documented this?
Yeah.
And so we were like, Chris, what if we made this? And like we brought Jeff into the fold, and we just did this, big series of Jeff taking it apart, because it's such a fragile toy. So if you haven't checked that out on Chasing 80s Toys, please check out Shipping the Defiant. And we shipped it because I'm in the Midwest, and Jeff is Idaho. So,
oh wow, he's in Idaho.
Yep. So a long way. So we shipped that via UPS, and it all arrived intact because Jeff is an expert packer. Yeah. And that's what got the three of us together, and now we've been doing stuff ever since.
So how did you get Chris to actually jump on board? Because he's in Europe.
He's in the Netherlands, and that's Chris reached out to me because we had struck up a friendship, and he's like, well, if you're going to go toy hunting and if you want to shoot some video, again, our mantra of if it's fun, do it. If not, don't. Yeah. But if you think about it and you want to shoot some video, do it, and I'll edit it into a toy hunt. I just need an intro and an outro with your haul and footage from the thing. And and he was like, and make sure you shoot in landscape mode, not with your camera up. All those things that as a newbie you're like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, not
kind of important, so you don't have the dreaded black bars of death. And so that's how we started. And I mean, Chris is just great because like I said, he makes me look good. I'm just a schmo. And Chris always makes me look good with the graphics and the edits and the way he drops in stuff.
That's where you're lucky, Pete. You've got a crew that makes everybody else look good. I don't. I have to struggle doing by myself to look good.
That so in the middle of our England trip, Leslie was like, what if we started our own channel, the Scubas? And I'm like, I'm listening. And I'm like, when we were talking about it, we're like, so we would start it with like kind of our trip to England or invasion. She goes, yeah, I think that would be cool. And I'm like, let me talk to the fellas first, because I don't want this to come off wrong. Because I like toy hunts and heavy toy content still on Chasing 80s. A little bit of toy stuff, more of just our goofy adventures, definitely on the Scubas. So very different, if you were.
But that's open community. I mean,
and the dudes were like, do it, please.
Do it. Yeah.
Do it. Like, I think that's great. And I'm like, okay, as long as I get the papal blessing, and they were like, oh man, I don't even know why you had to ask. And I'm like, I asked because I respect you guys. And I don't want to feel like I'm like abandoning you, because that's not it at all. And
no,
again,
I think it's refreshing. I mean, just, traveling, having, a couple of, the Scubas traveling,
because
we all know you as a toy collector and stuff like that.
Right.
But having something different, something refreshing that, yes, it doesn't rely on
different flavor.
Yeah, but it's a travel show aspect. Right? So I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant idea. Right? So
we've got a lot of ideas. I mean, we've dropped the one video on Star Wars Celebration because we were like, okay, we'll start with that one.
Seen it.
Awesome, thank you. Before it gets too far away from Celebration, but now it's like, okay, pressure's on. We need to get that second video out, but let's just rewind, and we're going back to, hey, we're at the airport getting ready to, and the adventures that we had. Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
The old Nickelodeon show of Adventures with Pete and Pete. Nice. It's Pete squared. That was a good show.
Wasn't it Pete and Pete and Pete? Three of them.
Was it three?
There's a whole lot of 4 fingers. It's 3.
Trace Pete's, Trace Pedro's.
Thanks, Mike, for showing us that you like Pete's.
Definitely. Much love, brother.
It's fantastic that this whole community actually just jumped on board. When you said that your missus and you were doing the Scubas, I mean, everybody jumped on board.
Leslie's like, before we even had the first video out, she's like, we have 40 subs, 50 subs, 70 subs. And I'm like, 70? And she's like, yeah, we really need to get this first video out.
I mean, you were up to 90 subs when I actually chimed in. Right?
Was it? Yeah. I think it's going to be cool. And we've got so much, we've got video and pictures from that whole, because we spent 10 days in England with VTR Dave and Camilla, who hosted us, and Stu and Georgie. I have my afternoon with Bob Breakin and friends, with Action Pop Nick and TJC and Alan Dawson, where we got to like overnight in Colville and shoot the shit and hang out and just drink beer and, get caught up. Up to Luke's, Reynolds Reviews and with his lovely wife, Rachel, up in Bridlington, and then over to Blackpool with Cy and all of our adventures there. I mean, just, we've got a lot of stuff that we need to, or want to get out there. And then just nutty adventures. We've got, lots of distilleries and there's some cool caves near us. We're just kind of spitballing ideas. Like, what would be cool? What would people want to see? Us just being nutty.
Hey, Kat. Sorry.
Hi, Kat.
It's. I mean, I think the community. You said that the community when you were over in England, that was the highlight, the biggest highlight.
Yep.
Right?
Without a doubt.
Having conversation with not going to the celebration, but going to the celebration, but having that camaraderie and that, the friendships that you have. I mean, that's the biggest highlight, really, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That made celebration. Celebration was fun in itself, but if it had just been Leslie and I and we didn't know anybody, we would have been the couple sitting in the corner of the coffee shop going, "Oh, that's a cool cosplay." "Oh, that's nice. Do you want to do that?" "Yeah, okay." Instead, we're like, "Hey, you want to head over to see?" "Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, let's go see the robots, the astromechs, or let's go back to, there were several vintage stalls that were well worth visiting again and again for vintage toys, like Joe and Gav's, Lester Vintage, their slot. We were around there like flies. I'm sure they were like, "Again?" Be like, we haven't been here for 4 hours. We're back.
But you picked up some really good stuff, though, right? I mean,
there was a very healthy mix of modern and old school Palatoy Kenner goodness, and just, I think I said it in the video. There was really weird, niche stuff for big bucks. Like, here's a sack that Palatoy would put the employee's purchase from the employee's store in to take home, and that sack framed, I think it was 600, 700 quid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff like that. I bought the loose, almost complete Death Star, Palatoy Death Star.
Right.
Well, they had a boxed one that, if money was no object, to be like, "I'll take that."
Yeah.
You name the graded figures or graded store displays. This one booth, just everything was encased in acrylic, but it was just, you were like a moth to a flame. Like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely gorgeous. And
I suppose the prices are pretty astronomical for that. All right.
So, depending on what it was, like stuff out of Spain, obviously much, much higher, but just anything Lily Letty, Pock, you name it, it was there. But then you're looking for the latest TVC or Black Series figures.
Right.
You had like In Demand Toys. It was, they did a hell of a business. I bought some Indiana Jones figures, the short round figure.
The new one? The new one?
Yeah, the new 3 3/4.
Yeah.
The dumb Hasbro booth was like coming summer of 2023. And I'm like, you knobbers, you can go over to In Demand Toys right now and buy them. They have them for like 13 quid. Like,
why do they do that?
Why do they do that? I don't understand it.
They do that for Black Series and TVC coming up. So,
be like, it's out there, and be like, no, they have it.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it because they were doing gangbuster. The lady was like unboxing as fast as the shelves were emptying.
Is it? Do you think why they do that? They have to actually do the dates, but not really mean it. They have to actually adhere.
Yeah, I think. I'm sure. It's a giant gazillion-dollar corporation. Yeah, you've got to put a date on it, but then your shipping's like. I've got friends that own their own small business. They have to ship in from China.
Right. Yeah.
That dynamic has obviously changed in the last 3 years. It's went from god awful, nearly impossible, and having to pay expediters to get your shipping container even on a boat out of China, let alone what that costs, to holy crap, it just showed up. Oh, the other one just showed up.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. Is we said that date, but
it's just phenomenal how they actually do that. And then you see them in store, like you just said, that you see them right there going, well,
that's what's so frustrating. I think
so.
I speak for a lot of folks. That's what got really frustrating with pre-orders. You woke up at the butt crack of dawn or whatever to log on to Walmart or Target or whoever that was having you better before, in 5 minutes it's going to be gone if you really want this. And you're like, son of a bitch. And so you would fight. And if you were lucky, you oh my gosh, I actually got to buy one. And now I wait. And then friends who were like, oh crap, man, I missed out. I came in a minute after you and it was already gone or and then they're like, hey, guess what I found at Target? I got that figure, and then 3-4 weeks later, Target's like, we're sorry, we're canceling your pre-order. And you're like, oh, I've had enough of this BS. Yeah. Like, I don't care anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that with other Targets.
Yeah, I just it's
cancel the order. Just
all the flipping time. Yeah, fucking time. All the fucking time. It's and I just said, nah, not anymore. I'm not playing this. I don't care.
It kind of does make me think that why do they put it on pre-order in the first place, Target? Why?
Just freaking throw it on the shelf and be done with it, because obviously you don't mean anything by this. You're not honoring the first people to say, I'm in, here's my money, you'll charge me, as soon as it ships. So I think that caused me to shift even more back into vintage.
What do you mean? I say yes, but
into other lines, like obviously G.I. Joe, Motu, and Star Wars are absolutely huge. Yeah, waiting years on pre-orders that never come to fruition, right, G? Instead of that, I'm like, you know what? I think I am going to collect Mask. I love it. Jody's into it. Chris is into it. Luke at Reynolds Reviews. So many people. VTR Dave. I am going to jump into Mask because I can find it. I can buy it right now. I can buy it while we're talking, on eBay if I want to pay those prices. Buy it now instead of coming, 2025.
I see where you're going now. Yeah, it's it's kind of like we're getting sick of the new line that we won't see for ages, for pre-orders or ever. Let's go back to the retro figures like Mask or
the vintage goodness.
Yeah, because it's readily available.
Mm-hmm.
It's readily available.
I was talking to Andy from Holochronicles yesterday, and we were laughing at, like, he goes, I don't know why, but I have like all these clone troopers and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I love clone troopers.
Yeah.
I think they're cool. I love the Clone Wars. I like that animated series. Good stuff. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm starting to go through some of my totes. And I'm like, why do I have this? Why did I buy this? I don't know. Again, back to you got to be a little nuts to collect, right? Like, you got to be a little off in a good way.
You do really. I mean, as a collector, yes, you do. I think you got to make sometimes you got to make the right decisions.
Yep.
For actually jumping ship from the things that you can't get. So, the things that you can get are almost readily available. So you jump
much more tangible.
Yeah,
and to be able to pass that figure on to somebody else who maybe doesn't have it, that's a buddy. Oh, that's the best feeling since sliced bread. To slap it in the mail and send it off. That's cool. And that's another part of this community that still blows me away. I've got 2 packages to open up. One is from Ireland and one is from England. from
Wow.
buddies,
Yeah.
which is cool. I mean, it's just, what goes around comes around, and it's fun to that. I took what was an empty suitcase. I mean, a full-size hardback suitcase was full of toys to give to people that I had said, hey, I want to give you this and I want to give you that. And maybe I'm horrible with like shipping things out.
Same.
But it became a point of like, well, we're just going to be there in like 3 months. I'll just keep it and pack it over, because I'm bringing back toys, like the Palatoy Action Force HQ down here. I'm bringing that home with me, so I need a big suitcase anyway. So it's just easier.
I'm still yet to actually post everybody an autographed picture of myself on Samwise Gamgee's wedding.
Oh yeah.
On Lord of the Rings. Still yet to do that. I'm always saying it's in the mail.
Postage is not cheap when you're sending stuff around the globe. Unless you're in the know, you have no idea what it takes to send to Australia or Australia to the US.
Oh yes, it's
like,
terrible.
What?
Oh, even when you're buying off eBay or Amazon, it's bonkers. It's bonkers.
It is. Yeah. Brendan Haley's like, hey, if you find these Joe figures, and because he's like, you just don't see loose G.I. Joe figures in Australia. And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you out. Good God. They're like water around here. I'm in the Midwest. They're everywhere. So I'm like, I just sent him a little box of figures that, I found them, and he's like, he PayPals me like, hey, I found you this. Oh, here you go. I'm like, thanks. It takes me forever to ship to him, but that's actually a good thing, because, I keep adding to his box, and we've started a new one already. So I have my little shopping list that if I see these characters while I'm on the hunt, I'll snag them, and I know, he wants them. He's good for them.
I bought that Alan Grant, right, from Big Bad's Toy Store.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting for ages for it. So got here probably a month and a half, but they're really good packaging, guys, because they're not like Amazon. So
yeah, they're fantastic.
So, but I mean, I sent a package off to Stu, like, for that.
Oh yeah, the fundraiser. Yep.
Yeah, fundraiser.
Yeah, the Give Kids the World.
Give Kids the World thing to him, and that took a while to get to him, but eventually it got there. So
yeah, I think shipping wise, it's definitely loosening up as far as getting stuff zipped around our little blue world. Yep.
It's got to be faster though. We've had some difficulties with ships, even on our shores, getting stuck.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoops.
There was I think there was a story that a big tanker got stuck somewhere around New Zealand waters somewhere.
Oh man.
So it's hilarious, really. I mean, but
would not want to be the captain.
But my mind gravitated. I bet they hope there's not a bunch of freaking toys there waiting.
Yeah, all kinds of other merchandise on that ship. That's like, well, we're not quite there yet. It's gonna be a while.
Yeah. It's so. I mean, there's a ship container who got. Well, there was a story. Wasn't it a funny story that a ship container sunk, or no, lost its cargo? No, lost its cargo.
Lost the container.
And it had toys on it.
Yeah. Like, no. I think that happens way more than anybody really wants to know. Those when you see those things stacked on those ships, it's like, how's that even float? I mean, I get the physics of it, but
I can hear the screaming of Boss Bounty and Nick saying, if the container of TVC is coming down,
blub 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 blub.
No! This is the final 96.
And then there's some squid in the depths, Hey, look, it's Lando.
Yeah. Didn't I see Pete say hello to Lando? He's right down here too. Oh my goodness. Yeah, all the fish are playing with the bloody toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, uh, anyway, I don't think anybody's asking any questions. Well, I didn't anyway. So that's cool. That's fine. On that note, and it's probably a really funny note to actually end on shipping. But
Yep.
I'm gonna ship us out of this. Oh, that's really horrible. Ship myself and Pete out of here. It's been brilliant.
It's been a great time.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you, Scuba Pete, or Pete, and you know, of your story, because it is your story, of your toys, and great having a conversation about anything on the PGM show. It's been a really good, really fantastic pleasure having you on, Pete. So yeah,
Thanks for having me. It's been a hoot.
And what have you got coming up in on your show? On
Leslie and I on the Scubas will be like rolling back time and starting off our journey into England and some of the snafus and things that happened, and hanging out with the lovely Dave and Camilla. That'll be our next episode in from the Scubas, and then Joe Fest.
right.
I'll be shooting some footage and whatnot from Joe Fest for Chasing 80s Toys, hanging out with everybody there. So, yep, gonna be good.
Okay, that's awesome because Pete has got two channels now, Chasing out his toys and the Scubas. So
Yep.
check them out. I'm only talking to my New Zealand friends, all two.
All two.
who watch this and don't have channels, go and check out any of Chat's channels and Scuba Pete's channel.
Definitely.
You'll have fun. You'll learn heaps, because I've learned heaps from Pete and the retro crowd who collect retro toys, because it is nostalgia. It is, and it all connects from cartoons to movies to TV series, 80s, 90s, whatever. It does connect. And we have such a great, fantastic community who support each other and have fun talking about this stuff, right? Because it is, yes, it is. We have to be nuts to do this and buy things like
we got to be a little wacky.
So I want to just I'll see you in the green room. We'll have a bit of a chat afterwards. All right. So I want to just say thanks very much, Pete, and say everybody say goodbye to Pete. You'll see him in the streams as well.
Glad to see everybody in the chat.
Yeah, so okay, and I'll see you in the green room just a moment, Pete. So thank you, Pete. Thank you very much. All right, so say goodbye to Pete.
See you, everybody.
Yes. Oh, what a show. What a show. And it's my laugh track. Yeah. Why not let that go as well? Oh, my goodness. Here we go. I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you very much to the chat. As always, you are fantastic for joining me on the PGM show. Thanks, Ed. Thank you, Scott Crusher, Sebby, Mark, GeForce 20, and Mega Fandanga, and everyone else. Cat, thank you very much. Gap, you're fantastic. If I've missed you out, I do apologize. You are all fantastic people. Please, yes, you know Scuba Pete and you know the Scubas, go and subscribe to their channel. Give them some love. Anyway, that is me done for another show. And just want to say it has been a blast. Well, I kind of do the multitasking things. So it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from him. Okay. goodbye, good night, wherever you are in the world, and take care of yourselves and stay safe.